if you'd like to just try this with me, what I'd like to do for a second is actually close my eyes, take a couple deep breaths, and just still myself with my breath. Does this resonate with you? Could you try that with me?
I could try.
Okay. So you do what you do in that process. I'm going to do what I do, and I'll meet you in the middle when we're both ready.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Good. How'd that work for you?
Worked out pretty well.
All right. Did really good. Okay. So Rand, what I want you to know is that everything that we talk about in our session today is confidential, and that everything that we talk about or discuss will never walk out of this room today. That you are safe, and that I'm going to hold your confidences in this process. So I want you to know that whatever comes up, you can speak it out, and I'm going to hold it for you like a vault.
All right.
Okay. So you can just say anything you want. Okay. All right. Are you ready to begin?
I'm ready.
All right. If I was to be a type of coach for you today, like I need to be someone that's more of a cheerleader for you, or someone that's a little bit more like push you further, what kind of a coach would you like me to be with you today?
I think a cheerleader would probably be the best. I mean, when we were speaking earlier, I was thinking about a couple things that in my past I may have, suppressed or may have not really paid that much attention to, but realistically I may subconsciously have them holding me back in the endeavors that I'm engaging in right now. So I think we should
just support you in drawing you out.
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. I can do that for you. At any given time that you feel that I'm being too pushy, you can just put your hand up like this and say, that's enough, Richard. I'm good. Okay, and I'll just back off. All right. Are you good? Okay. So what I'd ask you to do today is I asked you to start looking at 3 disempowering stories that you've been telling externally to other people or internally within yourself, and that are continually keeping you stuck. And they may not like hold you down completely, but they're still like a background programming. Are you with me?
Yeah.
That sort of like every time you want to get big or get great, this little like voice in the back of your head starts going, yeah, but, and you're not, and all that stuff, and it sort of like keeps you from being your highest expression of yourself. So even though we're going to be charting your disempowering stories and looking for the positive reframe in them, and also looking at triggers that may cause that to happen, I want you to know that I'm going to ask you to tell me a story, but you can't tell me your story.
Okay.
And we're going to do a process called charting your story, which is like an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
So do you know what an Excel spreadsheet's function is?
To organize things.
Right. And to get the facts, right? That's what we're about to do. We're going to just do this like a spreadsheet, and we're going to do it on the board up here. And I'm going to walk you through your 3 disempowering stories one at a time, and then we're going to get to this end result, which is going to help you reframe every single one of them.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to now ask you, Rand, if you'd be willing to start looking at your stories from your past and begin thinking about the one that's most prevalent for you right now.
So let's start with story 1.
Perfect. Okay. So if you noticed here, we've got 4 categories that we're going to be looking at today, Rand. I'm going to be looking for the facts of the story, the characters or the people in the story, the feelings that you had during the story in your life when this happened to you, and then we're going to look for a metaphor that you could best describe what the story was like metaphorically for you. Does this make sense when I say metaphorically? Okay. All right. So let's start by laying the stage out. So where did story 1 happen? Do you have a timeline or a date?
So I don't have a specific timeline or date. It's been ongoing since I was about 5 or 6.
Okay.
Right? So the story, the facts, or it's ongoing. It's been going on for quite a while.
So you're saying that it began when you were 5 years old?
Yeah.
Okay. And so where did you live when you were 5 years old? What state, city, state?
I lived in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Right off of Frank Lloyd Wright and Scottsdale.
Okay, so you were in this Phoenix, but you were in Scottsdale? Or in that Scottsdale, or is that Phoenix?
That's Phoenix.
Okay. All right. And did you live in a house or an apartment? Okay. Do you remember the road that you lived on?
Air Libre.
What's it called?
Air Libre, A-I-R-E,
A.
L-I-B-R-E.
Give it to me again.
Oh, A-I-R-E,
A.
I-R-E, Libre, L-I-B-R-E.
Okay.
Air Libre Lane.
Got it.
I remember that.
Okay. And so you're 5 years old, you're in Phoenix, you're on Arabuli Lane, right? And did this happen in a particular place within your house?
Happened in our den.
Their den.
It was like our den, TV room, dad's office type
Got it.
deal.
All right, perfect. Do you remember what time of the year that this took place?
I do not know.
Okay. Was it summer? Was it fall? Was it night? Was it day?
It was day.
Okay.
Oh, no, it was night.
Nighttime?
It was night, I remember, because I was watching TV and I was only allowed to watch TV at night back then.
Got it. Okay. So right now we have the facts. So it began when you were 5 years old. You're in Phoenix, and the name of the street is what again?
Air Libre.
Got it. And you're in your TV den room, and it's nighttime. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other facts to the story, Rand, that about where you were about this that you remember? Does that feel like you've set the stage for this? Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. You're doing great. Now, who was the key players in story one?
Me and my dad.
Okay, so you got
My dad
Rand. And what is your dad's name?
Kevin.
Kevin. All right, good job. Is there anybody else that's in this story? Okay, fantastic. Now, this is where I need you to go to a deeper place. Rand, I want you to just take yourself back. And do you remember the date of what year this was when you were 5 years old? If you do the math. You were born what year?
I was born 94.
Okay, so 89?
99. 1999.
So you were born in what year?
1994.
So that would have been 89 then. 1989. If you were born, no, I see, I got it. You were born in 1994. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So this is 5 years later.
So when I was 5, it was
So 1999?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. That's good. Okay, so I want you to take yourself back to 1999. And I want you to remember when you're in your TV den room with your dad. And I want you to give me feelings that you remember having. I felt what? Just give me words.
I felt scared.
Okay, good.
Felt very confused.
Okay,
Looking back, I was very resentful.
okay.
And calm.
And calm. Interesting. Okay. Any other feelings that you can think of at the time that you were having? Okay, so you felt scared, confused, resentful, and calm. Interesting. Okay. Any other feelings that come up?
Nope.
All right, you're doing really good. If you could think of a metaphor that would best describe story one, what would it be?
I'm not sure. A metaphor as in like comparing it to something?
Yeah,
it
a
was like
symbolism
this.
of some
Okay.
sort, yeah.
I would say this is going to sound extremely cliche, but have you ever seen those movies where there's a kid in the movie gets a puppy or some sort of animal to take care of, but realizes he has to let the animal go?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like reluctantly relinquishing some sort of
Love
intimate
thing.
relationship or something
Wow.
like that.
I just totally got that because I'm a total animal lover, so I
Yeah.
get it. Okay, so letting go of something you love.
Yeah.
Okay. See how cool that is when you put it in a metaphor? It's like
really
it really brings it to like this total larger way of seeing it. Correct. Okay. Good. We just charted story one.
Okay.
That was fantastic. Let's move to story 2 or 3. Fantastic. Now, what does it look like or what does it feel like to see your 3 stories charted in this way?
Breaking them down into the facts, the characters, the feelings, and the metaphors really helped me envision them. Like, I remember these 3 stories clear as day. As you know, when I'm talking to you, when I'm explaining all of the factors of them, I'm imagining what was happening in my head. I remember them very clearly. So I think that does really break things down to show you and recreate for you that specific situation, so you can look at it objectively now and think, okay, this is what happened, this is how I could fix this is how I could sort of rearrange my thoughts or my actions or whatever to try to learn from that specific situation.
And I think what you're seeing and what I'm hearing, tell me if I'm right on this or wrong, that you're almost on the outside looking in at it.
Exactly.
You're on the, or looking up and down on it.
Exactly.
And so it's less emotional because it's just the facts.
Exactly.
Because
Makes it
if
more
you were to
objective.
imagine, if I was to have you walk through these and tell me every story, you'd probably tell me all the details and you'd never get to the end of the story eventually because it would just be full of drama,
Right.
chaos, emotion, tears, whatever it may be,
Right.
anger, right? So what this is about is like being more subjective and not looking at it from that perspective of emotion. It's more like, let's just get it out.
Right.
Okay. Is there any one of these 3 stories, Rand, that's most up for you right now, like in your life currently, that's still disempowering you on some level?
I would say story 1.
Tell me what, because.
So, story 1 was a time where I had to realize that although I had a relationship with my father, he was never really a father to me. So I had to think to myself, am I going to live my life trying to repay him for something that he never really gave me, or am I going to think of another way that I can be successful and empower myself and grow and learn and teach and do whatever without having that voice in the back of my head saying, well, you know, you should do this, or you owe me this, or something like that.
So you said in this that to repay him. What do you mean by that?
So the most recent example I can think of is anytime I would bring up my career path or my field of study or whatever I'm doing currently, my father, we still talk, we're on good terms, it's nothing hostile, but he would always sort of redirect it. You know, he would always say, well, have you thought about doing this? Or have you thought about doing this? Or have you thought about doing something else? And until recently, it always got me thinking, well, maybe this isn't the right decision. Maybe I should explore the options that he's talking about. And with this specific story in mind, it got me to think about, you know, what do I owe him something? Do I owe him? Should I repay him somehow? Is this my fault? Things like that, you know, just a mixture of emotions that I was always in my subconscious, but I can never really make sense of.
So it feels like everything that you wanted to do was taken away from you.
Right.
Is that right?
Not physically, but yeah.
Like stomped on, or
exactly.
that this fire was blown out.
Exactly.
Makes sense? So that'd almost be a better metaphor. Like my fire got blown out.
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I'm wondering about, I'd like to look at these feelings, Rand, okay?
Okay.
Do you see any feelings that repeat themselves in each of these?
Hopeless and calm,
Okay.
I would say.
So one of them, we'll circle them this way. So this came up a couple times, and calm came up a couple times. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I want to say to you is I really resonate with your energy and your brilliance, because I can see how incredibly talented and smart you are. I see it. You're quick. You're super quick, and I want to acknowledge that in you. Did you know that about yourself? That you're very, very effective, and you're very, very smart and quick?
I do not, but I do appreciate it.
You do. Like, I mean, I do this for a long time, and you're on it. And I really appreciate how effective you are in this process. So thank you.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So I'm wondering if you were to have these words, calm and hopelessness, show up for you as trigger words for you, Do they resonate with you at all as far as trigger words that would, like, when you feel this way, it triggers you into something? It triggers you to go somewhere?
The calmness, not so much.
Okay.
The calmness, I honestly have always been calm in chaos. When things go south, when bad things happen, I have always been calm. I've always tried to remain calm to try to get people somewhere, get a certain thing done. So that's not really necessarily
But hopeless has come up twice.
Hopeless is a different story. Hopeless is, for me, you know, I always sort of start thinking about some low points in my life when I feel a little hopeless, but it's not all that often. But when it is, you know, I start thinking of story 3, story 2, some other things that have come up in my life, and it's pretty rough, I'll be honest.
So in your hopelessness, right, just a thought, does hopelessness lead you to calm?
I'll turn on the TV, I'll read a book, I'll try to do something to keep my mind off of it that calms me down significantly, and then the hopelessness sort of just fades away.
I love that. Wow, like what an amazing awareness that is for you and everyone else that will ever watch this, because what you're telling me is you know how to do the work. Like, okay, I feel hopeless, but I know what to do in my life in order to get to my place of calm, which I refer to as my God center.
Right.
Are you resonating with that?
I am.
Because I'm in hopelessness, and that's my trigger. I get to that place of hopelessness, but I do my work, and you say go work out or read a book or, you know, jog or do something, and then that calms you down and leaves the hopelessness behind you.
Right.
Is that right?
That is right.
That's really evolved. Like, I gotta say it. Like, I'm again impressed with you because at the age you are, that you know this about yourself, that when I go here, you could go a whole different route, right? Like you could go to drugs, you could go to limiting beliefs, there are all types of different things, but instead you do the work, the right work. And when you do, so let's just go like this. So this leads you, for you, to do the work. Now, do you know what I mean by doing the work?
Right.
Okay.
I do.
And then when you do the work, then it leads you to being calm, which then leads you to your higher self, correct? What I find interesting is that I don't know what story 3 is about. I don't need to know, because you know the story, and I don't need to know what the story is about. But I find it interesting because your feelings were, I was calm, I was collected, I was relaxed, but I also was hopeless. And bad things happen at unexpected times to people. But even in this, I know I felt hopeless, but I still stayed calm. I still kept collected. I still stayed relaxed. So you should be like a doctor or something, or you should, you know, work in a world where it's high, you know, pressure, and you can still stay in that high collected self. Do you get that about yourself? That's like art.
Yeah.
So what I want you to get is that your trigger probably is hopeless.
Okay.
So when you start feeling hopeless, you have told me that you do the work. And when you do the work, then it leads you to calmness. And it probably leads you to collected too. And it probably leads you to relaxed, right?
Right.
It probably leads you to, what other words that are not on this board? Where else does it lead you? So we got calm leads me to collected and relaxed. Where else would it lead you to?
Happiness.
Yeah, there we
Being
go.
calm, collected, relaxed.
Right.
Being happy.
So do you get how powerful what you just told me?
Right. I do.
Did you ever get that's how powerful you are?
I did not until we mapped all this stuff out. That
Right.
actually really did help, yeah.
I want you to really take that in, Rand, because that's a very evolved soul that knows that when I go here, that I have to do my work. And when I do my work, I go to calm, and I go to collected, and I go to relaxed. So I want just to acknowledge that in you so you get how powerful you are. Cool?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Now, I'd like to now have you be willing, if you're open, Rand, to facing each one of these stories. And I want you to do what I call a reframe. So I'm a firm believer that everything that ever happens to us that's disempowering in our life has a purpose, or what I refer to as a lesson, or a spiritual lesson.
Okay.
Are you resonating with those words? Okay. So, you know, what is the spiritual lesson in 9/11? What is the spiritual lesson in an entire family dying in a tragic car accident by someone that was drunk? So those are some hard questions to answer, right?
Right.
But if you believe, like I do, that everything that happens to us has a reason, and our job is to seek to give birth to that reason. And when we see it from that place, it doesn't have the power anymore to disempower us. Because we don't make it mean that my dad told me I was no good. It means that he taught me something bigger than that, and I'm going to leave and lead my life with that reframe versus the one I was implanted in me as a 5-year-old. Are you with me? Okay, Saran, so what I'm going to have you do is I'm literally going to have you face each one of these stories.
Okay.
And I'd like you to just take a second to be with that story. Okay, so let's turn to that story 1. And I'd like you to look at this 5-year-old story when you were 5 years old with your father in the den at nighttime in '99. And I want you to remember what this was about. And when you're ready, I want you to literally erase it from here to here. And then I want you to take a pen and I want you to rewrite what the spiritual lesson was. What you learned from it, what your dad taught. And you can erase it with that eraser you have in your hand, okay?
Erase everything?
From here to here.
Okay.
Yep.
Then
when you're ready.
The spiritual lesson?
Exactly.
Okay. Right.
And I would imagine that by erasing this, it almost feels, you can take out the facts and everything, just erase all of it. I would imagine that it feels to you almost like relieving to erase it, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and use that pen, and I want you to stand there and figure out what is the lesson that you learned from this? What's the reframe, the positive to this? It could be a simple statement, it could be a phrase, a paragraph.
You can't let anything hold you back.
Wow. Explain that, just a quick sentence or two.
Simple as that. You can't let anything hold you back.
Yep.
Sometimes people will get in your way. People will try to stop you. People will try to tell you that you're no good, that this isn't worth it, that you should do something else. But if you're dead set on doing something, there's nothing holding you back other than what you keep telling yourself.
Beautiful. Powerful. All right. Which one you want to face next?
Let's do story 2. We'll go in order.
Now, Rand, I want to ask you now, let's just look at this one more time. So, if you were to take all of this information that we just charting the story, okay, and all your disempowering stories and reframe them, and if you were to walk away with 1 or 2 takeaways from this work that we just did today, what would they be?
So I would say mapping out the story from the facts, the characters, the metaphor, all of that fun stuff, the logistics behind it really gets you to, like you said, look down into the story, look at what's happening, how you can make it better, how can you do things differently. I think that was a very, very useful tool. And then going around, and this is what actually I liked the best, is mapping out. I'm a very linear learner. I like mapping things out, planning things out. So seeing that progression from a feeling that's not very positive, that you know, seems like there's no way out, putting in the work, and then becoming calm. I like calling it work, because work is not always easy. It's hard. You know, it'd be much easier in a situation of hopelessness to go get a drink or to resort to drugs or whatever, but working to get out of that situation, you know, going for a running is not fun. But you know, afterwards you feel better. You know, reading a book, I enjoy reading, some people don't. You know, the putting in that work is not always the easiest way to do it, but it's the healthiest and it's the most positive way. So I think that was the second thing I would take away.
I feel that this was really affirming for you, and in the amazingness of how I see you, and I just met you. And this says everything to me, because as a coach in the world, this is what coaches do. We help our clients do the work, and the work is not done in the sessions. The work is done when you leave the session in your real life. And I want to really help you get that I affirm you and acknowledge the work that you're doing to be this amazing human being that you are in the world. That I acknowledge that. And this is what most people don't do in the world. So the powerful. And so what we're calling this is that this is called these words here, this hopelessness and this calm, is trigger words. So this is your trigger, and we were looked at those emotions, right? And they're threads that repeat themselves that then cause a trigger, and you learn that your trigger is hopelessness. But I've never seen it in all the years I've done this work where someone actually goes right from their trigger straight into the work and straight into a positive.
Right.
So I want to acknowledge that.
Well, thank you.
So Rand, based on everything that we've discovered today and the charting of the story, of all your disempowering stories and reframing them into a positive, what are you going to do with this new information? How are you going to apply this to your life?
Well, I think this, first of all, reaffirmed a lot of those feelings, so I think I'm going to use that as well. And writing things down, seeing them in front of you really does help when it comes to making big decisions or getting out of a slump or anything. So I think that's going to be the most immediate takeaway I'll get. You know, if I'm feeling down in the dumps, if I'm feeling a little bit unsure of myself, write something down, make it linear. Do this exact same story setup. You know, something like that. That's what I'll be taking away in the immediate future.
So you'll be able to say, "This bad thing's happened to me," and instead of I'll focus on it for a few minutes, and then I'm going to reframe it.
Right.
I'm going to find the lesson.
Reframe it. Think about it objectively, turn it into a positive.
Perfect. That's amazing to me. So you did amazing work, and if I can support you any further, please let me know.
Absolutely, and this was an outstanding opportunity, so thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Ram.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome. Got it.